Have you ever noticed that no matter how much water you pour into a cracked pot, it never stays full? Most people spend their entire lives working until their bones ache, yet their pockets remain empty and their hearts remain heavy. They aren't failing because they lack effort. They are failing because they are building a palace on a foundation of weak soil. If you are tired of working for a future that never seems to arrive, this story is for you. Once upon a time, in a village between two mountains, lived a young man named Kavi. Kavi was the most talented weaver in the valley. His silk was so fine it felt like water between your fingers. But Kavi was a man of high stress and low peace. He earned more money than any other worker, yet he was always in debt. He bought a fast white horse because he wanted the village to see him as a winner. He wore gold robes to the market so people would respect him. He hosted grand dinners for friends who only liked him when his wine was expensive. Kavi was a fast engine running on a road that led to a cliff. He worked 16 hours a day, not to build a future, but to maintain an image. Every night he lay awake, his heart pounding like a trapped bird. He was the most envied man in the village and the most terrified man in his own home. He was one bad week away from losing everything. One afternoon, Kavi traveled to the edge of the forest to deliver an elegant cloth to an old man named Master Oren. Oren lived in a simple stone hut. He wore plain cotton and spent his days tending to a small garden of everoak trees. Kavi looked at the old man's simple life and felt pity. "Master Oren," Kavi said, "you were once a powerful advisor to the king. Why do you live here in the silence while the world is moving so fast?" Oren smiled, his eyes as clear as a mountain spring. "Kavi, you are confusing the storm with the mountain. You are the storm, loud and temporary. I am the mountain, quiet and deep. You have the gold of today, but I own the time of tomorrow." Kavi didn't understand, but when Oren showed him his records, Kavi's breath stopped. The old man was wealthier than the richest merchants. He owned the very land the village sat on, yet no one even knew his name. Kavi became obsessed. He tried to copy Oren. He sold his horse and stopped the grand dinners. He told himself he would be disciplined. But the village was like a mirror. His friends began to whisper, "Kavi has gone crazy," they laughed. "The great weaver has become a beggar." The pressure to look successful was like a heavy weight on his chest. He felt small because he no longer looked rich. After only 3 months, Kavi broke. He couldn't handle the silence of being ordinary. He went on a desperate spending spree. He bought a new golden carriage on credit and threw a festival that lasted 3 nights. He shouted louder than anyone to prove he was still the king. But when the sun rose on the 4th day, he realized the truth. He had spent his last savings. He was bankrupt. He had tried to build the roof before the foundation, and the whole house had collapsed. Broken and weeping, Kavi returned to Master Oren. "I cannot do it," Kavi whispered. "The noise of the world is too loud." Oren took Kavi to his garden and pointed to a tiny gray plant. "This is the ever oak," Oren said. "For the first 5 years, this tree does not grow an inch above the ground. While other flowers are blooming and dying, the ever oak is busy growing its roots into the deep, solid ground. It is practicing the secret discipline of the unseen." He handed Kavi a small iron box. "Go back, work as a simple helper. Every day, before you pay for bread, before you pay for your roof, put the first coin of your day in this box. Do not count it. Forget it exists. This is your root. If you cannot protect the root, you will never own the forest. Kavi took a job as a simple laborer. He wore the same gray tunic every day. He ignored the festivals. The first year was like a desert. He felt poor and like a fool. One night, his old friends knocked on his door. They were riding golden carriages. "Kavi, come with us to the great wedding. Why are you living like a servant?" Kavi looked at his iron box. He felt the sting of loneliness and the urge to join them, but he remembered the Everoak. He smiled, shook his head, and closed the door. That was his hardest battle, not the work, but the silence. By the third year, something changed. He didn't feel poor anymore. Even though he had no gold robes, he had a strange strength in his spirit. He had developed strategic patience. He no longer needed the village to bow to him to feel powerful. His power was hidden in the rhythm of that box. Then the year of the gray wind hit. A massive drought destroyed the silk trade. The loud merchants who had built their lives on debt collapsed overnight. Their mansions were taken away. Kavi was the only one who didn't panic. He opened his iron box. It wasn't just a pile of coins anymore. Because he had been saving in silence, he was the only one who had the resources to buy the deep well equipment and the special seeds Oren had told him about years ago. While the village was screaming in fear, Kavi was ready. He didn't get lucky. He was simply the only man who had prepared while others were partying. He became the master of the valley because he was the only one who could afford to be quiet. He had achieved financial freedom through the discipline that no one ever saw. Most people believe that wealth is what you show the world, but true wealth is what you keep from the world. It is the ability to say no to the noise of today so you can say yes to the freedom of tomorrow. Success is not a sprint, it is a root system. If you are working hard and seeing nothing, remember the ever oak tree. You aren't failing, you are anchoring. So I have to ask you, are you building a life that looks good to strangers? Or are you building a fortress that is unbreakable for your family? Start with the first coin. Start in the silence. Your reaction to the noise is your power. Walk lightly.